Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Spider-Man Venom Free Comic Book Day. And I enjoyed this Free Comic Book Day issue. I liked how they kind of just set up what they're kind of doing with Spider-Man, Venom, and then also doing a tease of what they're doing with Jessica Jones and like Wilson Fisk at the end as well. So, interestingly enough, the Spider-Man one started off in Dallas, Texas with this dude named Bushwhacker, who's a villain I've never heard of, but can transform his arms into like guns and shit. And he's like gonna go after some people, but then we see Spider-Man pop up, pretty much being like, the fuck's kind of going on with you, man? That's kind of interesting you got there. And a weird thing that we kind of notice is that Spider-Man's costume is kind of different, mainly because the spider is kind of off center from his chest, and it also is able to take some hits a lot better than normally he would. And it's like, okay, that's some pretty good upgrades right there. But he's able to pretty much shove his fists into the dude's arms, and it kind of knocks him out. His arms are all kind of fucked up. But we see that this is not Peter Parker. This is Ben Reilly. And it'll be interesting to kind of see. I know I've heard this stuff going on with that, but it's interesting that this Beyond Corporation's working with them, and that for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much setting this up that nobody would figure out that Spider-Man's been replaced by Ben. And it was kind of interesting to see him kind of like shit on his Scarlet Spider costume, saying like something that a 14-year-old made. And I'm just also kind of wondering time frame wise when this is set, because at the last I checked, he is helping Iron Man with a certain thing in space at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of like shapes out with that kind of time frame reference wise. So we do know that something big happens to Peter Parker, and Ben is going to kind of take the kind of lead as Spider-Man. And it'll be interesting to kind of see how that kind of shakes out with certain kind of team-ups and everything. How Miles will handle that kind of situation. And, of course, what's going to happen to Peter and MJ with all that stuff going on as well. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. The next one we get is kind of setting up the status quo of what's going on with Venom. We see that Venom on Earth is kind of dealing with some shit, and that the symbiote is talking to the person, and it's Dylan that is taking over, like, the Venom role on Earth, and that he's having some problems because Eddie has gone off to be the King in Black to deal with everything going on with the rest of the symbiotes, and that he's evidently looking for different kind of hosts and all that, and that they're kind of spread out. They saw that there was a distress beacon going on, so he kind of goes into them. He's got his usual, it's this really interesting kind of style that is kind of similar to, if I remember correctly, like the Agent Venom kind of thing, mixed with the original kind of one, because he's not going all I don't know what, like the usual kind of like gaping mouth, teeth and everything, but he's like more spacesuitish in this, and he calls the other symbiotes to help him deal with these space pirates fucking up this kind of relief ship because Null fucked up a lot of shit. And Eddie thinks that he's pretty much contained with all this, but we do see a red thing going on, kind of leading us to believe that there is some other kind of thing within the symbiote hive mind. I don't know if they're doing that to tease Null or tease more stuff going on with like Carnage or whatnot, because I do not know the exact kind of like status of Carnage's stuff going on with this myself. So that's where that ends, gives us a kind of thing of like, okay, this is going to be this status quo for that, so we'll kind of see how that kind of works out. The other portion is a smaller portion that deals that evidently Wilson Fisk is cleaning house and is deciding to like murder some motherfuckers, as Jessica Jones kind of like gets on the trail that someone's like, Wilson Fisk is cleaning house. So we'll kind of see, because he's saying that he's going to be doing whatever the fuck he kind of wants to a degree. And that's a pretty kind of dangerous thing that evidently he's been like holding back, as like, oh sweet Jesus, what's going on with that? So I do like that this one's set up for these, and even though I'm not reading or reviewing those at this point, I do look at kind of like the different stuff that's going on in the different kind of various Marvel titles. So I always look for those on Free Comic Book Day, and always recommend to kind of like check them out and see what's going on. And I'm glad that these kind of worked out pretty well because they were entertaining. They did a good job of kind of introducing where they're going to kind of be going, and I can't wait to see how those kind of affect other titles in the Marvel Comics line. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.